In my streets, oftentimes than not, in December, you just hear people doing street party and all of that. And I said, nobody will stop me when I start my own preaching. Nobody will come and tell me I'm making noise because me, I am sharing the gospel. All right, welcome to AJ Sports with Ezekiel. And Ezekiel, thank you so much for coming around. I hope that you will definitely be impacted by all that you listen to on this very episode of AJ Sports with Ezekiel. Hi everyone, how are you all doing today? Thank you so much for coming around to another episode of AJ Sports with Ezekiel. So today I'm going to be telling you about my evangelism experience. How's it been for me thus far? How did I start? What's been keeping me going? So I think the first form of evangelism I did was when I was a preteen, just going around with other children from my church during this particular special program that we call Children Weekend. And we just go out there and we distribute tracts, we sing songs as we are going. And it was exciting to do that as children, right? I think this was the basic form of evangelism that I knew how to do back then. When did I start evangelizing the gospel? I think it's connected to the church I attend, that is the Vivified Church. We were first a ministry before we became a church. And when it was just Vivified Ministries, there was this special program that was organized strategically for evangelism, and it was called Street Lights. And the very first one that I attended, I remember that it was a great experience because we were paired in twos and threes and you go out there sharing the gospel. It was a great experience, right? And then as I was going back home, I decided to share the gospel with the person who sat next to me in the bus. This was my first time of ever preaching to somebody in the bus. And I found out that God gave me the ability to communicate the gospel to him in a way that I could understand. So he said he was a bricklayer. And somehow I just started by, do you know that there is a building, a mansion that is not built by bricklayers, that is not built with bricks and this and that? And before you know it, I was talking to him about heaven. Then I came back to how we get to heaven, preached the gospel to him. By the special grace of God, he understood, he gave his life to Jesus Christ. And that was a great experience for me. It had never happened before. And then when I finally understood what the gospel is and had gone into apologetics, learning the art and science of defending the faith, and I was so eager. I wanted people to really know God. I wanted to help people find God. And I knew that the only way they could find God was through Jesus. I was like, I need to share the gospel. Before you know it, when I started attending a particular church that is quite far from where I lived, and every time I enter this kurupe, I preach the gospel out loud in the bus. I did it for quite a while, right? Every Sunday as I'm going to Ikeja, just preaching any kurupe bus that I enter, right? And I think there was a time I was afraid, like I was not bold to speak up. I'll be thinking of what I want to say. I'll be thinking my voice is not that loud to project. I'll just be worried about different things. And I think what really helped me through that time is how before I preach the gospel, I pray to God to give me boldness. And severally, through the power of God, maybe, before I can question myself, I just start speaking. And when I realize I'm already speaking, I just continue. That was how it started for me. It was quite interesting because after the first time that I did it, I was still nervous several other times, right? But it was a great experience, right? Preaching to people in the bus. And preaching in Korope is quite easy because it's not a big bus. The engine of the bus is not quite loud. But when I'm going to work, I have to enter buses that are much bigger. The engine of the buses are quite loud. And for some time, I found out that I would either have headaches when I get back home because of trying to project loud and ensure that everyone can hear my voice. After a while, I just stopped because I was worried, is this affecting my health? Maybe I should not. After a while, I started again. I've had other challenges like people trying to stop you from preaching the gospel. And I think there was one that was so serious. They were like, I should apologize. And I told them, no, I would not apologize for preaching the gospel, but I'll apologize that my voice is quite loud and might be disturbing the person sitting directly in front of me. That is only what I will apologize for, but I would never apologize because I'm preaching the gospel to the hearing of everyone. I've also had somebody else try to stop me when I was preaching one on one with somebody in the bus, and she's a Muslim, and then another Muslim sitting at the back tried to stop me from preaching to her. That why am I preaching to her? She has said she's a Muslim, and before you know it, I just stopped and started preaching to everyone and trying to address their objections. And I think what I regretted from that situation is I stopped preaching to that lady and I started focusing on everybody and trying to debate, oh, Jesus Christ is God, this and this. It was a good debate, but debates don't really win people sometimes. More often than not, people have to have a receptive heart to allow the Spirit of God use what you are preaching and what you are saying to them to convict their heart. But if people have closed up their heart from God and all of those things, then all you are saying will just be flowing over their heads. And I think I left someone who was a bit receptive to now tackle people that were completely not receptive at all. That wasn't a good experience. When it comes to boss evangelism, I've seen great experiences from that. Someone was so impressed. I don't know what emotion I'll call that, but she clapped and was like, wonderful, wonderful. And she asked me, what church do I attend? And I told her, now I'm not doing it for the round of applause. I'm not doing it so that people can say, oh, this is a pastor in the making. I've had some other people pay the transport for meals. I've seen people being impacted by this gospel. I mean, when they are sober and they have tears in their eyes. Remember, there was one time I preached, and the person beside me, after I finished sharing the gospel, this person was singing all these, songs of surrender. All the songs that when you finish preaching the gospel and you want to give altar call. It was quite amazing. I was like, oh, wow, interesting. I've had different great experiences that are just quite encouraging, and maybe it should really encourage me to go back to seriously doing boss evangelism even more. I still do boss evangelism from time to time, but not like before again because of one of the struggles I talked about, the loudness of the boss. Sometimes I still don't preach because I'm just so tired. The whole environment of the boss is not so conducive. These are just excuses, honestly, and I want to do better. I want to get back to that time where I was always preaching in the bus. And I want to get to the point where every single time I go out, whoever is sitting beside me, whether it's a long trip, whether it's a short trip, I want to share the gospel with anyone sitting beside me, even if I don't get to share it out loud. That is something I really, really desire for myself. I know God will help me to get there. Some of the people that I've collected contacts from that, oh, I'd like to follow up on you, I'd like to continue our conversation further. Some of them have not been communicative when it comes to reaching back to them online. You send them message, sometimes they reply, sometimes they don't reply. But of course, I've had another opportunity to also chat with people online and share the gospel with them. I remember this one was so interesting. He's an Hindu, although we say he doesn't believe in religion. Religion binds us and things like that. And how did I start communicating with this person? So there's a game that I usually play, my favorite game, Asphalt 9. And so it's an online game where we form clubs and you have other teammates and you do quite a number of things contributing to the club, right? And so, of course, as there's the game platform, everybody try to create maybe a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, a Discord group. So during Easter, I just shared a summary of what we are celebrating during Easter and posted on the group and said if anybody would like to talk further about Jesus Christ, they can send me a DM. And somebody reached out and sent me a DM, and that's how we began the conversation. I got to share the gospel with him, but he has not still committed to it because he says he's going to read further, he's going to understand, he wants to reach the place of enlightenment and things like that. But in this situation, communication was also a barrier in terms of he doesn't speak English that well, so I can't really even have a call with him. But it was a good conversation that we had, right? So there's something I'm currently doing which I started this year. In fact, I had that leading from a program that I attended in December 2024. I just felt this leading, this passion, this desire that I want to share the gospel. I want to go street to street to street sharing the gospel. And so I started this year, February to be precise. I got a mobile speaker that's quite loud. Now people frown out the idea of disturbing people in the early morning, preaching the gospel. People are still sleeping, and then you are preaching loudly, you are waking them from their sleep. And I took all of those things into consideration, honestly. I don't go out in the early morning when people are still sleeping. I go out around 9, 10, 11 when the sun is out, everyone is awake. I go to those areas where people are in their shops and I preach, and everyone gets to hear the gospel, whether they like it or not. It's still a good form of evangelism because you don't know who is paying attention to what you're saying, and it's not disturbing anybody. Yeah, it might be disturbing because it's loud, in terms of I'm using loudspeaker and you didn't call for it. But then in my streets, oftentimes than not, in December, you just hear people doing street party and all of that. And I said, nobody will stop me when I start my own preaching. Nobody will come and tell me I'm making noise because me, I am sharing the gospel. I know that God is reaching out to people. My experiences, when I just see myself the way I'm preaching, it's almost amazing. And I know it's nothing but God working through me. It's God that helps me. It's God that gives me this passion. I want people to know God. And my desire is as much street as I can cover around my area. I want to go every week sharing the gospel. But beyond that, I also want when I go out, I come in contact with someone that is sick or not feeling well, I pray for the person and the person gets healed instantly. Now, has it always been easy to go out there? I mean, I go out when sun is shining and I'm sweating as I'm preaching. Sometimes I try to find something that can just block the sun. Sometimes it's been good. Sometimes I actually stand in the sun. This is how it has been, right? It's not been easy. There are some days I have to tell myself, God, please strengthen me. I don't feel like doing this. And I just look, is this how I'm going to be doing every Saturday? Is this how it's always going to be? Every time I'm just going out to share the gospel. And I pray that God strengthens me and He helps me. Is it easy? No. But God keeps strengthening me. All of these things I'm sharing is not to put myself out there and let everybody say, this guy is an evangelist. That is not why I'm doing this, please. Beyond this podcast, I really want people to find God. And sharing my experience, I want to encourage you to know that it is possible for you to go out there and share the gospel and win souls for Christ. It is possible. And that's why I'm sharing these experiences and these struggles and these lessons and these desires that I have. I can only see that it's God that has been helping me thus far. And I pray that is the one that will continue to help me keep on sharing the gospel, keep on going out there to evangelize. And I want to encourage you to please go out there and evangelize to everyone you come across. Thank you so much for listening to me thus far. Thank you so much. I really hope that this stirs you up to go out there and evangelize. Please like this podcast, comment. You can share your own evangelism experience in the comment section, and please share the podcast with your family and friends. Share the podcast on your status, share it far and wide, and let people be blessed by the things that I'm sharing. Please enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.